With the undeniable rise of violence and assaults towards our healthcare staff and first responders, it's time to prevent, protect, and preserve those who take care of us. Make Stethosleeves the first choice in protecting our frontline workers.
Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Just a Little Salt. Got some very important people here involved with a series about to drop on YouTube, a documentary series. Just so you all know what I'm talking about, we're going to play the trailer real quick so y'all get a quick glimpse of it.
There's times where I'm rolling down the road in the back seat, getting my gear on, ready to hop out as soon as we get there, and I just am like, all right, it's time, it's game day. Like, this is the moment that you train for every day. You're gonna do something pretty crazy and go into a fire, but you know that you're relying on your tactics and you're relying on the guy next to you to get through and get the job done.
You cannot see anything. I mean, it really is like pulling a mask over your face. You cannot see anything. You know, as you kind of start out, you can see a little bit, you know, but as the smoke thickens, you get closer to see the fire, you can't see anything. The heat can be overwhelming. That gear works good, but it's still hot. It's hard to hear. I mean, for some reason, you know, it's hard. You got the sound of everyone breathing. You know, your respirator's kind of loud. You've got the radio going off. You've got, you know, the sound, especially once you start spraying water, then you've got the sounds of steam, and it's hard to hear. It's pretty chaotic. I remember specifically thinking this is way more chaotic than I expected.
All right. Can't wait for that to drop. Guys, welcome to the podcast. Thank you all so much for coming out. I'll let you introduce yourselves one at a time. Tell me a little bit about your professional experience, and we'll go from there.
Yes.
Zach, take it away.
Oh, man, coming at me hot. All right, cool. Starting with the civilian. So my name is Zach Hamelton. I'm the Public Information Officer for Kalamazoo Public Safety, the backdrop of Rolling Sixes. It's filmed in-house just by me, along with, obviously, my crew with the GoPro, so that's really exciting to get into that. A little bit about me. Been in public safety now for just a little over 2 years. Worked for a police and fire department separate in Florida, which was a lot of fun, Central Florida, and then moved back home to Kalamazoo, which is where I'm from, which is really kind of cool to come full circle and do what I do. But prior to getting into public safety, I worked in film and television for about almost a decade as a producer. So I worked on about 50 or so TV movies, worked on Star Trek for several years, Picard season 1 and 2, Strange New Worlds. More of a Star Wars guy myself, but I've learned to enjoy Star Trek, having worked on it. And worked on a Clint Eastwood movie, which is probably my favorite because it's just crazy to say I worked on a Clint Eastwood movie as a producer. It's pretty cool. So that's kind of my background. So I took all that film experience, put it into my work as a public information officer, creating content for our social media platforms, whether that's photos or video. And then, you know, Kalamazoo Public Safety has put a lot of trust and faith in me as a PIO, which is really exciting because they've given me a lot of kind of freedom to do what I want to do and pitch really fun ideas like Rolling Sixes, which is very different than anything I've done since getting into public safety. A lot of the stuff we create is more kind of based for the internet. You know, it's kind of vlog based, you know, kind of just in the moment, very immersive, whereas this is very cinematic, kind of taking me back to my old roots from film and television, which is why it's limited. We're only doing 6 of these. So I ain't got that much time to do a whole, 27 episodes like we've done in a previous show we've done. But it's a lot of fun, so it's definitely different. But I love it because I get to get out of the office. I spend about probably maybe 30% in the office and the rest in the field, and I love hanging out with the guys. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, Tim, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Tim Loso, been with our department for 25 years. Well, coming up on 25 years in February. Got a couple more years in me. Prior to that, worked down in Florida for a sheriff's office down in Southwest Florida. And then majority of my other time is going to be spent with my family. Got 4 girls. My wife and I have been married for 26 years. And girls, I got 3 away at college right now, and 1 a senior in high school. So about to be empty nesters also, and making plans for that.
Okay, I forgot my beautiful wife. Her name is Jacqueline, and my awesome son, who just turned 10 years old, Luca. And I just said, like I forgot my kid's name. So just to add to that, thanks a lot there, Loso. Appreciate it.
I'd be beat up if I didn't do it. So I had to throw it out there.
We'll try to edit it in the beginning, like you didn't forget it. Okay, don't worry.
Leave it in as it is. It's on me.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Let's start with what the main topic is. This series called Rolling Sixes. How did this concept come about?
Yeah, so we had done a previous series called Riding With. First season was Riding with Rhodey, who subsequently is actually in Rolling Sixes. And that series basically followed our traffic officer as he was just doing kind of routine stops, kind of like a Fridays with Frank or Traffic Tuesdays that we've seen. But it was kind of a little bit unique because he was on the SWAT team. So every once in a while you get a hot call that you get to be a part of. So it wasn't always just traffic. Sometimes we're doing an arrest warrant in a trailer park. You just don't know. The other thing that we also did is we'd respond to fire calls. I think that's a unique thing about public safety. As you can see on my shirt, public safety, we're combined agencies. So all of our officers are trained in police, fire, and EMS. So that means every cruiser that you see, including Rhodey's car in the traffic series, has all their fire gear. So they got turnout gear, they've got an SCBA, they've got additional medical supplies, they've got all of that. So not only can they respond to police calls, they can respond to medical calls as well as any kind of hot calls, like a fire call. An engine would then meet them. They'd be able to be fully suited up when it got there, start pulling gear off, maybe even before it stops. So really exciting, very unique. There are other public safety departments out there, but we're the largest in the country. We've also been doing this for a hot second. We've done this since 1982 is when we combined our police and fire rescue service. And so that was kind of interesting in that. Riding With was a lot of fun, but it was very much kind of a vlog, like call to call. You're not really getting to know Rhodey too much except for in between calls, and you're kind of just in the moment. And I approached the chiefs. I'm like, hey, we're doing all this great work on the police side. We need to do something fire side too, because we do both. How do we show both? And so I pitched this idea. I do have to give Fire Marshal Scott Brooks his fair share. I'm sure he's going to watch this, and he'd be very remiss if I didn't mention that he mentioned Rolling Sixes, which is a station moniker for the actual station. We got a pair of flaming six dices as the mascot, as well as the Bronco, because we're in Western's territory. But he had mentioned that as a cool name for the show, and I concurred. So we did that. But I wanted to pitch something different. I wanted to kind of go more along the lines of what we've seen out of Detroit Fire with this series or the movie Burn. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a fantastic fire documentary, firefighter documentary. And the thing is, when I watched that, I'm like, man, this is amazing, and I want more. It's only an hour and a half, and it's just not enough. And I'm like, well, man, what if we did this as a series? Similar concept as far as, like, you know, staying with a year with our guys. We are still technically filming because we haven't even aired the first episode, so there's still stuff being filmed now. But it's just really evolved into this really great story because you really get to see the crews, but also how they train, how they live together, how they respond to calls, and how those calls affect them as well. There's these candid interviews that are actually lit well. Again, a difference from the other series we had done. But I loved it, and it evolved, and I'm kind of going off base here, so apologies for the ramble. We initially planned on releasing this a while ago, actually probably several months ago, and we delayed internally for just other reasons, nothing to do with the show, just other things came up. And because of that, some of the members that we filmed previously have since retired, and then new members have come onto the team. This gave us a really cool chance to have the old crew featured, and then the new crew having to now fill those shoes, be part of the actual story arc. So we decided to kind of push it back and like, hey, this is actually kind of a cool storyline here because I recorded them talking about like what it was going to be like when they retired, what they thought for, you know, the people that were going to replace them, just because I figured, well, hey, it'd be a good retirement video, social media mindset, you know, public information officer, use both. And then it worked out great because now I've got all this great footage of them talking about it, and now we've got the new guys coming in to replace them. And that's everything from just an EO technician or equipment operator technician. Loso, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
You got it. That's right.
Okay. So equipment operator technician to fire lieutenant. So one of the lieutenants actually retired, and a new person came in, promoted from sergeant to fire lieutenant. So it's a really interesting story arc there. But it didn't take much to convince my chiefs. I mean, we've been rocking and rolling since I started here about a year and a half ago. And at this point in the game, if I come to them like, hey, I got gold in my hands, they're like, yep, I see it. It's definitely gold. Well, let's run with it. You know, so they've been very supportive. And that's made this a lot easier to tackle. I hope that answered your question.
No, absolutely. Man, these series like this, people don't realize how vital they are to like recruitment, because people, a lot of people I've talked to that have no knowledge about the fire service, like when I try to describe the things we do, it doesn't do service. But when you get to watch a series about, you know, the calls and station life, and that plays a big part. Like you might recruit people, they're like, oh, this kind of looks interesting, maybe I'll do a ride along. Or initiatives like this are huge to recruitment, and I love it. So
I appreciate it. It's definitely an added bonus for the show. I mean, really, we're trying to get people to look at our department, especially locals, as this is my department. This is my public safety department. I want them to see that 6 on the truck and be like, hey, I wonder if Loso's running front seat today. You know, I wonder if it's Hubble in the front seat. Who's driving? And I want them to know who's driving, right? So it kind of adds that personal touch to our service locally. But to your point, I mean, we're always hiring. We hire lateral people, so whether you're certified as a police officer or a firefighter from any other states in the U.S., we'll take you. We'll put you through the respective academy you need to go to. This is my own shameless plug here, added bonus. But in fairness, that is kind of the thing. I want you to watch that show and be like, man, I can see myself working with this crew, you know. And you're not just going to see the crews. You'll see the PSOs responding to the same calls. You'll see that tight-knit family extends outside of the station and into the other crews that are in those zones and with the department too.
And you know, over the last few years, the response or the interest in doing public service has declined, right? When I applied to Kalamazoo 25 years ago, is with an auditorium full of people who wanted the same job, and they hired I think my hiring class was 11, and now we're out recruiting all the time, making videos, trying to draw people in and have them have the interest to do this job. And that's why I've enjoyed part of this is sharing that with people, that they are like, hey, that's something I want to do. Because you see TV, you know, like I was a school resource officer for a while, and that was the only introduction people had with law enforcement of what they saw on TV or saw in movies. And I got to bring the personal side to the students I interacted with. And conversely, I could bring that personal side of the students back to the officers at the station and go, man, I got 500 kids at a school who are 499 of them are awesome, right? You have 1 or 2 that are causing a problem. It's, you know, kind of reflects on society, but man, the vast majority of those kids are good. And so the same with this is, hey, that's something I want to do. I see that. I want to be part of that. That looks really cool what they're doing. You know, I got of my 4 girls, 3 of them are getting their degrees in criminal justice, and awesome. You know, one wants to pursue the career. The other ones are going different directions off of that. But you know, we need people out there who want to do the job. We would need people out there who are invested and want to serve.
Yes, 100%. Either one of y'all can answer this, I'm sure, but what are the main themes or messages you hope the audience takes away once they watch the series?
Zach, you're on mute.
I am. Oh my! I knew.
Yeah. Bring it though. You had this your baby. So
no. I want to hear what you got to say. I want to see from your perspective what you hope we get out of this show.
Well, I think I just spoke about it. I mean, we want to get people to fill my spot. I'm 3 years out from retirement, and I want good people to come in and enjoy that job and enjoy the opportunities that are out there for them, to see what they can do to serve the public. And I think that's really the biggest thing out of this one, that they get something out of it and they want to return something back to the community that they've grown up in or that they come to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely mirror that.
And not just showcasing the type of runs and stuff you all go on, but also showcasing the type of individuals that truly love the job and coming in every day. Because as you all know, I'm sure you've worked with people that get burnt out and don't enjoy the job. But I grew up with a lot of people that truly love the job, and that's what motivated me. I'm like, I want to go to work and mimic that person. So, being able to capture that on camera, I'm sure is another advantage as well.
Well, and I love it too, to be fair with you. I mean, I worked in film for God knows how long. I got out of it for separate reasons, mainly because the schedule was brutal. I was working 80 to 90 hours a week, and then I'd be on set for a month or two at a time. And when you've got kids, it's a lot harder. Again, shout out to Luca. Kidding. I mean, not. But no, in all seriousness, though, I've always had an affinity for public safety, whether it's police, whether it's fire. I've had it on both sides in my family, and I grew up, with – it's kind of actually surreal, but my Uncle Tim literally works at a fire station right across the street from my house now that I've moved back for a different department, which is really wild to just be back. But I love the job, and as much as I love my film career, I don't know that there's a single day I come into work and I'm like, man, I might be tired in the morning, but the second I'm at work, I'm like, man, this is where I need to be. And to be able to showcase this job, I mean, look, there's very few things, and I know we can all agree, that are going to beat running lights and sirens, to a call, especially if you got a rip and fire, you get on scene. I mean, it's kind of hard to top that. I'll be real. It's challenging. Even for me just filming it, it's a hard thing to top. It's hard to go back to a normal life after that. So, yeah. But it's kind of cool to share that.
But on the flip side, showing the reality of your last interview with firefighter Lance, I think it was, you guys talked about lift assist, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's part of the job of getting out there and serving. It may not be glorious, right? It's I'm out there picking somebody up who may not be the best smelling person, or they have their struggles, but you know what? It's still service. And the gas leaks that, we had, I worked yesterday, and you get the 2 a.m. call for a fire alarm that somebody pulled. It's part of the job, but you get out there and you're helping people get through that and help them out. So it's all part of the service. It's fun to do the cool stuff, and I really would rather do that, but it is what it is. And it's just, you sign up to do this job for good or for bad.
Heck, I think the last 24-hour I did with you, we had a guy who dreamed he had a heart attack and then called because he dreamt that he had a heart attack. So, but you know what? He was happy that we were there. You know what I mean? So, we're still helping out in other ways. So we definitely get those calls too.
That's right.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, my number one reason for wanting to be in this career is I get to help people every day in a different way. Because, some people might think, oh, you get structure fires every day. No, we don't. We don't get to do the cool stuff every day. But, what we do get to do is we get to make a difference in somehow, some way, usually almost every shift, unless you have a no-hitter, which is also cool.
Every now and then.
In its own way.
Don't let the captain know.
Yeah. So, Zach, I know you said you're still doing a little bit of filming on it, but how do you choose which stories or episodes to include? Like, what runs, what events, like what criteria guided your content selection while doing this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a lot of footage. I'll be real with you. You film that long, I would imagine we're well over 100 hours of footage that we've got between calls for service and then all the different types of training that we've had come up along the way. And a lot of that's really exciting too, and it's varied. So, the guys at, Station 6, they're also part of the tech rescue team. And that's a bigger unit, but they're comprised of that as well. And so there's a lot of training that gets involved in that. And so we've been able to actually kind of go to these different locations that Loso and the other lieutenants have been able to set up. Like, we did this really interesting training in a wastewater facility, which is just like and this sounds terrible, but from like a filmmaker's perspective, like, man, you got all this oxidized metal and everything, all these like really interesting structures around us while we're doing this training. And it's great for the guys because they get to actually experience what it might be in the location you might have a tech rescue versus just in a simulated area. But for me, it's really cool because it kind of gets us a chance to show it in a safe way what that rescue might be. And we've had instances where they've done training, like let's say for vehicle extrication training. They literally filmed training, and then the next day, I think it was the next day or the second day, they literally had a vehicle go into the creek and on its side, partially upside down. And guess what we're doing? Vehicle extrication, right? So it's kind of a weird situation where sometimes things just happen. You get lucky. We just filmed training, and then now you've literally got an actual real-world application that works great for that. But I mean, I try to get a good variety. To your point, I want to show the reality. Not everything's going to be a rip and fire. Obviously, we showcase that in the trailer because that's going to get people's attention. But there are going to be your kind of standard medical calls. There will be some elevator rescues, technical rescues, accidents, fires. We try to get a good variety that showcases the best. Well, I don't want to say the best, but like what you would actually get working for the department. But I really wanted the emphasis to be more about the crews and less about the calls. I think we've all seen TV series that are like, in the reality space, all you do is just go call to call to call. And what happens is you just see a firefighter doing firefighter things. And I don't know who that person is, but hey, they're doing a good job. I mean, it's exciting. That's cool. I have no idea who this person is. And to my point earlier, I want you to know who these people are. So when these guys are going into an actual ripping fire, or they're on a crash, or maybe a really tough crash, we've got one that's going to be highlighted in the series. That was a really horrific accident that we had here not too recently. You're going to see that crash, and you're going to think, wow, how are the guys handling this right now? Like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of commotion. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of vehicles. How are they after this call? You're thinking that because you've had time to sit with these guys when they are just doing tabletops, when they are hanging out at the station. So you actually have a feeling of who these people are. So when you go on these calls, you're wondering how they're going to be, how they're going to handle those calls. I just think it adds that personal touch that's usually missing. And more importantly, and I hate saying humanizing the badge because I feel like that's a cliche term that gets thrown out there all the time. But I do want people to realize these are people just like you and your family members that are doing this job. You're not robots. Like, you're going to be affected, whether you're affected by it now or later, you will be affected by it. I think we have a really good group of crews here at Station 6 that are really good about talking about some of those challenging calls together as a team. We obviously have peer support systems here within the department that also aid in that. And that's also a thing that we'll highlight is the mental, health challenges that come with seeing that much trauma. It does add up, and a lot of the guys on the crew have been with the department for over a decade. So I think it's really great that they felt safe enough to be vulnerable on camera, but I think it speaks a lot to how they also communicate as a team too. So
I'm getting excited to see this already. All right.
I haven't edited all the episodes, so now I've got myself stressed. I'm like, I hope I own up to this. I mean, we've edited some of them, but no, I know we've got the footage. It will be great. I hope.
Well, I'm going to ask both of y'all this question. I'm going to start with Tim on it, hear his answer. So what are some of the challenges you encountered during production, all the scheduling, safety access, permissions, everything?
I would say the hardest is getting buy-in from my whole crew. Some guys are comfortable with the camera. Others aren't, right? So working with the personalities of those who want to participate and those who don't. There's been a couple times where cameras on got tossed out of the rig as we're running a call because someone else said, "Hey, you're on camera," and all of a sudden I'm like, "Stop! Don't throw it out the window. Just put it down." That's for me. It's just coming into work, right? I know I start my shift at 7 a.m. I get at 6 o'clock. I'm switching out. Zach shows up. We have the GoPros in the rig. So it's more for me to remember to get that going to show that, to record the information. And then just, hey, Zach, to let you know, we ran some calls today. You might want to check that out and let him do his magic with editing if he feels that's important for the storyline that he's building up on that. So really, for me, it's easy. It's showing up and doing the job I do regardless. It's just now having a camera with us, and then Zach with his interviews at time to time, or having to explain to a reporter, hey, what'd you just run on, and why did you do that? So it's helped me with that aspect of it, also explaining what we're doing with our job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's the beauty of having the GoPro. So that was a big deal to get that greenlit. Obviously, as public safety, our patrol officers every day, they've got your Axon body cam. All these officers that are part of Station 6 as EO technicians have all done that. So that's old hat to them, but it may have been a year or two since they've had to worry about a camera. So it was something that I had to kind of train them on, but they were able to get used to it. And that's the thing. Those cameras are running right now. So if a hot call goes out and I'm not going, it's nice to know that the footage is going to be shot whether I'm there or not. We obviously use a Sony cinema camera as well, so there's a lot of times that I'll actually be, at the station, running calls with them for the day, jumping in the back. And that's the other thing, to your point, safety protocols. We still have to follow policies. Even though I'm a civilian, if I'm going to be in certain zones on a fire scene, I have to be in full gear too. So it is a mad dash when we get an actual hot call, because I got to run out, get my gear on super fast, but then also film them getting their gear on and then jump in the back seat. So a lot of times it's me getting dressed in the back seat, and the GoPro is kind of helpful in that case, because I can finish getting myself squared away while they're doing their thing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's collaborative too. We have, I think, a total of 6 GoPros running right now. 2 on the squad in the back, and those will be either clipped onto a radio strap or on a SCBA, which is what we used to do if they're on a fire. And then we've got one up in the front on the dash to kind of get the interior, so you get to see the lieutenant and the driver talking as they're responding. But that's the collaborative part. I was talking with some of the guys that were the predominant camera people that were really, buying in on this project, and they were having issues with the cameras falling off. Safe to say we've had at least 3 cameras fall in working structure fires and have not gotten picked up until that fire was out, and they still work. I swear to God, we went a generation lower for the cost, because I thought we were going to be replacing these things constantly, and surprisingly, we've only had to replace batteries. They swell up because of the heat, but that's it. So a $20 battery versus, a $200+ camera is, great. But what we found was they want to do helmet mounts. And that was the other thing, too, actually. I forgot to mention this, Lo. So we did, and I don't want to disparage the company, so I won't say the name of the company. They're a great company, but they can be a little finicky, and it's a little bit dated. The software you had to literally update with a text file. I feel like me saying that, you might know what I'm talking about, because I think there's only one camera that does that. So sorry about that. You're great cameras. It's not good in the field when I only got one chance to get it. Great for training. And so we switched to the GoPros. I had a buddy of mine in North Carolina who had used them on multiple fires and had no issues. I'm like, let's test it out. So we started with 3. They worked great. We got more. But in working with them, they kept falling off the SCBA strap on fires. And also the vantage point is good because you get that kind of low angle. So if they're on a hose, you can see it, but sometimes it gets obscured. And I wanted a higher angle to see more. And so we were experimenting with helmet mounts, and it turned out the easiest solution sometimes is the best solution, which was the rubber helmet band that most of the guys already have.
Oh, yeah.
You put it in front of the leather shield. Well, now you got a perfect spot. It's super tight. You pull it out, clip the clip we already have. Boom, for $5, you've got a helmet mount that is not going anywhere. And that has been a game changer. So that's great because it kept the versatility. We don't have to worry about installing all this gear on whoever's helmet's going to be wearing the camera today. You just clip it on, and if we're on an accident scene, you don't have the helmet on, you can just clip it on your radio strap. So you still have the versatility. But that's working with the crew and figuring out what works best for them for that first-person perspective, and being open to having those conversations instead of being like, well, nope, this is the way, and you're just going to figure it out, or we're just not going to do it. Like, that's not how we've done this. It's always been collaborative. Not that I don't think I would ever talk like that to my crew, because I try to be the nice guy for the most part.
They throw you out is what they do.
What are you talking about? They would. They would. It's true.
It's just, I can't believe that the GoPros withstood the fire. I didn't know they were built like that. Listen here, GoPro, if you want to sponsor a future episode, holler at me.
I tell you, they want to sponsor this series, man, once it comes out, because they're not in any special housing, too, because at a certain point, I'm like, well, maybe they're in housing, but all the GoPros now are all waterproof. So there's no housing needed. So I don't know how they're doing it. There's wizards working on these GoPro cameras now, but we're rocking the GoPro 12 Blacks, and they are fantastic. Like I said, we've not had to replace a single one, and they've taken a beating. They've fallen from high places when we've done tech rescue training. They've dropped a camera from a tower. That's happened. I mean, these things hold up. Like we have tried to destroy them, Lord knows, and they still keep filming.
That's wild. So I know you said you have multiple cameras. Are you the only one that edits this?
Yep. Yeah, so it's just me. Up until about a month ago, I now have an intern. Brian, if you're listening, my guy, love you so much. You helped me out so much. But it has been me helming all of this for a long time. And he's not really so involved in Rolling Sixes, but he is helping out with the other projects, which has freed me up to focus on my baby, which is the show, because it is very much a passion project. But yeah, it's literally just me. So I'm filming everything. I'm triggering a lot of the cameras sometimes. So on days where I am with the crew, like on my phone, I'm like camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, cinema camera. And now I'm filming to trigger them all because they're going to forget. It happens, and it's no fault to them. And I always try to tell them, like, look, your job is to do your job, not to film. So if you miss it, I don't want you to feel like, oh, man, that's the least of my worries. Focus on the patient, focus on the job, right? If you happen to get it, then awesome. But it's helpful when I'm there because then they can kind of forget about it, and I'll just handle it. But yeah, it's me shooting it and editing it.
we've had the opportunity too, because our patrol officers carry the body cams, that if we don't have our GoPros going, I can say, hey, Zach, these officers are on scene. You might want to look at their body cams and let him edit off of those, the body cams also.
And that has saved
Okay.
us a couple of times, but the quality is not. We got really lucky actually with this one call with Brody that's going to be featured in the first episode. For whatever reason, that camera was locked in on a super solid resolution, but normally it can get a little squirrely, which is why we don't typically rely on them, which is why we went with the GoPros. They're great for like what you would need for like a court case or for documentation, but for film, trying to have that cinematic feel. The GoPros I can shoot in 4K and I can shoot in a log color space, so I can actually color grade everything. We're getting into the technical nerdy stuff here, but that's the point
Don't know
though.
what
Like
you're talking about.
we are straight up treating this like my pipeline is no different than a film pipeline, because that's what I came from. So we're shooting in
Yeah.
4K. We're shooting at log color space, so I can color grade everything, make it look super cinematic, give it that feel. But yeah, and if you're curious, I'm using Adobe Suite because that's what we have. I got to work within the confines that I have. So we're using Adobe Premiere Pro to shoot this, and Sony cameras and GoPros.
And government funding.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's not
Well,
Hollywood.
and that's the thing too. Like it can't just be for this show. But thankfully, with my job, we do so much filming as a PIO that all this gets reworked into the Office of PIO or Public Information
Yeah.
Office. It's all still usable, but.
Wow. I'm surprised you're able to sleep at night. That sounds like a lot of work.
And then I had to be a PIO for the largest department in our county for police and fire.
Yeah.
So that also was its own challenge.
He's a busy man.
Yeah.
Yeah, kudos to you for that too, because I've never met a firefighter that wants to talk to the public like that ever. So that's awesome.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, I get it. This next question, I'll ask Tim. So you don't have to, spoil anything, but do you have any particular like hero moments or episodes that stand out in your memory, like specific? You can be as generic as possible.
Wow. Not knowing what Zach's going to put up there, I don't know for sure. We've had some good calls with some vehicle extrication work, some good fires that we've responded to where the guys really did an outstanding job getting after it, put it down quick. So yeah, I'm waiting to find out for myself of what Zach's going to edit in there. Like I said earlier, it's just day to day. We're going out and doing our job, and some days we're busy, and get to do some cool stuff. And other days it's like, all right, hey, this is our third false alarm and second medical run for the day. Let's go do it, right, and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, and I can't say that we'll have episodes where it's like, well, this episode, you're only going to get lift assist. Although that would be very funny because that would be very real. It's hard to keep people interested and invested when it's just lift assist. So there will be kind of that theatricality of like, well, we don't always run all these. And that's actually a good point to Loso there. So each episode, there's 6 in total. Each crew gets 2 episodes. So essentially, we'll start with Loso, then we're going to go to a different crew, then a different crew, and then start working our way back. And then Loso, ultimately, his crew will be the pilot and the finale. That's how we're setting it up. And that's kind of great because, like I mentioned before, with us now having the new people come in, you're able to spend time with the original crew and then meet the new crew, in the next episode. So kind of tie it all together.
Cool. Well, that leads to my next question for Zach. How do you handle all the sensitive topics or traumatic scenes in the editing and presentation of it?
We do have to be very mindful of people's privacy, right? We're not trying to air out their worst day. As Loso can attest, many times that we get called out, it's on someone's worst day. So I'm trying to be sensitive to that, and that's been really helpful with us doing most of our filming already completed. A lot of these situations have happened many months ago, so it's not like it's a fresh thing that just happened. Like, man, that just happened last week, which could be interesting in and of itself if you saw it on the news and then now suddenly you're seeing it on the show. But we air bi-weekly, so we're airing on October 24th, and then it'll be a week off, then a week on. So our last episode won't even air until January, so even stuff that's fresh that we're filming now won't be fresh when it airs. So that's part of it. But obviously, like any kind of crashes, we're blurring license plates. We're not doing any calls that would feature a very unique vehicle that'd be easy to identify. On some of our hotter calls, we've had a really, honestly, I think Bronson did categorize it as a mass casualty incident over at the Speedway. That's going to be featured. which we haven't really talked about, but it will be featured. That was a really big incident. Unfortunately, that gas station in particular has been a victim of a couple of really bad crashes into the pumps there. But that'll be featured, and we want to do it tastefully, right? There are going to be calls where someone doesn't make it. I'm not going to film someone getting CPR knowing that they're not going to make it, right? Obviously, there has to be class there, right? But I do want to mention that I might show them responding to the call, and then that's it. And then, have that after action, because we do these after actions because, Brett Lewis, one of the EO techs on Loso's crew, talks about it was really unfortunate. We got called out for, this medical call. It was a cardiac arrest, at such and such place. We don't typically say place. We'll say 1300 block of such and such again to kind of respect the businesses too. But he'll talk about the fact that, unfortunately, we worked on them, but they didn't make it, and they did make the call. And that's the downside of this job is, unfortunately, you do have to come to terms with you can't save everybody. But as a crew, we need to kind of talk about it if we need to talk about it, reset ourselves, re-square away, get ready for the next call. I think it's important to still show it in a way that may be very minimal, but at least expresses that, that happens. We're not going to show it, but it does happen. And I think a lot of the shows, they only show the wins, but they don't show, unfortunately, and I wouldn't necessarily categorize it a loss. It's a loss of life for sure, but it's a tough call. No one wants to go on a call where you don't save the person, right? No one wants that. But I think it's important to still talk about it. So I think there are ways that we film it that's respectful to the patient, but still kind of being grounded in reality, if that makes sense.
All right, so this next question, both of y'all can probably answer. Were there any moments you had to pivot or scrap ideas because of real-world constraints, such as bad weather, any legal issues, department policies?
I can definitely speak to me having to do a very, very long week recently. I spoke to some of the newer members coming on the crew. Not a big deal because I can just film whenever I want to. I'm working every day. However, one of our officers that got promoted recently was going to be going on baby leave. So congratulations there. But that really put me in oh my God, you're the pilot. And I just realized I have no calls for service with you. I have your interview, but I need you on the rig. I need to get calls. When's your next shift? It's Saturday. And that's my last shift. I'm guess I'm working 90 hours this week because I'm going to have to do a 24 to make sure I get calls for service. So there have definitely been kind of pivots like that. And then I'm just dead the next week. Thankfully, Command's really good about giving me kind of some flex time where I worked a 3-day for the next 2 weeks to kind of get those hours back as best as I could. But there's definitely been moments like that where I've had to pivot and change the shooting schedule. God knows how many times I've rescheduled Loso's interviews for the Candid interviews. We're still filming some of those still. There's still some outliers. So there are times where that happens. And to your point, actually, of just whoa, didn't expect that. The Speedway incident happened on a day we were not planning to film. So I don't typically set up interview days where we have all the lights set up and everything and the camera. I don't typically film on those days for calls for service because it's a lot of work. At the time, I only had the one main camera. Now I have two, so we could have probably squared that away. And that call went out, and they got dispatched. And I was not a big deal. I have the person I'm interviewing. We'll just continue. Well, then we got a second dispatch out of that station, and I'm okay. Well, this is going to be a hot call because that's the second person now leaving the station. So I just, out of instinct, was you know what? Scrap this, grab the camera, threw it in real quick, and now I'm following them to this call. Ended up being probably the most crazy crash that I've been on recently, just as far as just the amount of stuff happening, the amount of vehicles. You have multiple ambulances vying for space there. You got the local hospital calling a mass casualty. You've got multiple patients you're trying to transport, load and go. You also have a hazmat situation because one of the vehicles involved is a motorcycle that spilled all of its gas. So now you've got gasoline all over the area. You're trying to maintain that. You've also got a lot of onlookers and standbyers that are trying to help out where they can. News was already there, so we're dealing with that. So it was just everything that could happen in one moment on a day we weren't even planning to shoot. But I'm you know what? When I heard that second tone go out, I'm this is the call that I need to be on. And so that was just kind of an instinct moment, and it ended up being a really, it was great. It's tough. I think that's tough for this job in general. A good day for you means a bad day for someone else, and that's a theme that I think kind of is very common in this industry, this job, this field, this service. But it was a good day because thankfully no one died, but it really showcased how calm and how professional everyone from, and we even had rookies on those calls too. There were people that were still in their FTO period that this is holy crap, this is probably the craziest thing they've ever seen. and they're all calm. Everyone's got a job to do. Fire's handling the hazmat situation and any extrication that might be needed. You've got PSOs helping with medical care alongside Life, which is our ambulance provider here. You're seeing all this happen amidst everything around them being so loud, so crazy, but then in those moments they're super calm and professional. I think it's really cool to showcase that.
So I know you said you have 6 episodes planned. Do you have like a length that they're going to be?
Yeah, so we're really truly trying to be like a network television series. So we are aiming for 30 to 45 minutes in length each episode, which is, again, a huge variation of previous work that we've done. So, yeah, it's going to be a doozy for sure.
This is we're leading into some of the last questions. What kind of feedback or reaction have you received? And I realize a lot of people probably haven't seen the edited footage and everything, but as far as just feedback about like the filming process and everything that goes along with it, like, have y'all heard any feedback from peers, community, etc.?
I'd love to hear Losa, because he's got a couple crew members that are great, by the way. No issues there, but they were not the most to like jump in and buy in on the project. They're willing to help out. Don't get that twisted, but I'm curious to see how his crew has felt, especially since the trailers dropped and now it's actually like really happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out my crew, right? You know, if they do even listen to this, but yeah, they're solid.
I swear to God.
I'm yeah, it's true. Title fits right in. But yeah, again, it's them seeing the vision of why they're doing it, rather than just someone tagging along, taking pictures, but seeing and me overhearing them without them knowing that I'm listening, that, oh, hey, this is helping this, and this can do this for the department or help people. So they're starting to get in that buy-in where they see that. Now, some do, some don't, and that's fine. With Zach's other projects, he's gotten feedback on those from people from, you know, we've had officers in California stop and say, oh, you're from Kalamazoo? Hey, do you know this? And that's Zach's show that they're asking about. You know, so it has a reaching impact. So with this not being released yet, people have shown interest. We've done a couple of press releases with local news channels, and they've had good feedback that they're interested to find out more and see more about it. So I think it'll be exciting to see when it comes out. I mean, it's kind of that imposter syndrome for me of, hey, we're not New York, we're not, you know, Lone Star 911 or whatever. I think one of the shows just send them up into space, right?
Talk about jumping the shark into
it's like
space,
we're not jumping into space, but you know, I just step back and say, hey, we're showing the reality of what we're doing, and just we're in the station a third of the year. We're a family who live there that we deal with the good stuff, the bad stuff. We work together, try to make you know, really difficult situations better. We're mitigating problems as they come up and recognizing how we can solve it, right? You know, so when I log in the computer every day, for me, when I type in Squad 6, our message is Omni Paratus, right? We're always ready for whatever comes. And that's kind of the mindset when I go forward of, that's what we're going to do. And I want people to see that we are there to serve their community and that we're ready for whatever they present to us. It may not be the smoothest right away because we're working through the process, but we're going to solve that problem as best we can and help them out. And so I think that's going to be the buy-in when people see the show and when our own officers see that and go, okay, that's the reason behind it. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, and we did cut like a cold open. So like I said before, with the whole television theming, you know, there will be like about 3 to 5 minutes before our opening credits kick off. And so we did have that, and that was kind of an amalgamation of like everything that we have. So it had like a standard kind of like well-lit interview. It had a call for service. It had the after action. It had the opening credits. It had a little taste of everything. And so that did kind of float around the department a little bit. And when people saw that, they're like, oh, this is not Riding with Rhodey. This is very different. Like, and not that they didn't like Riding With, but Riding With is a dime a dozen kind of show. I hate saying that because it isn't. There are things that make it unique, but there's a lot of agencies that do that. I think once they saw the care that was going into this show, that was a big deal. I think the trailer has been probably the biggest feedback I've heard internally, because once they saw that trailer, they're like, oh, man, like, hey, I had no idea you were on some of these calls. My God. But also they're like, yo, when's the series coming out? Because now I want to watch it. I've even had spouses that have, like, you know, responded to it like, holy crap, I can't wait to see this. And they're excited. They're like, where's it airing on? We are trying to get onto some interesting distribution sites too. There are channels to make that happen. I'm going to try my best to do it. May not be right away, but it might be after the series finishes. Obviously, and that's a good plug right there. We'll be on YouTube. As far as going to space, that's when we get the GoPro sponsorship. Then we'll have the money, and then we can go to space, and that'll be season 2. When I said there wasn't going to be one, now we go to space. We really just buy it in. We
Exclusive right here.
Yeah.
We're going to space. But yeah, no. And to Loso's point, it is pretty wild because I've even talked to a former fire lieutenant, Jason Hendricks, and he does a lot of tech rescue training. And he's even talked to me since he's retired where he's like, man, I've been in this place. I've been in Louisiana. I've been all these different areas. I've been in Florida. And they talk about like, oh, man, that's where you came from. Like, I see all their videos. Like, how many people do you have working there? And, like, how are you guys able to do that? And that's a compliment to me because I know it is just me. And it's not just like me toot my own horn. But, like, if I can make you feel like I got a whole team, I'm doing something special because I don't have a whole team. But so that's really cool because ultimately I'm more bought into this department than previously because this is my hometown. Like, I was born in Kalamazoo. So to really shine that light on this department and the amazing people that work here and show how much they genuinely care and how hard they work and get after it, it's just a lot more meaningful for me. So that's where the passion project isn't just because it's a fire service or public safety. It's because it is my hometown. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the spouses. That's something I didn't even think about wanting to watch it. Like, I hope you
Good
got
and
some
bad,
cool
right?
footage.
Like,
yeah. Don't show the recliner naps.
Yeah.
Don't give them a reason.
Yeah, but you also don't want to be like, man, I didn't know the job was like that. Because, I mean, that's the other thing, too. It's one thing to see a burning building from the outside, to see the guys go in. It's another thing to see a burning building from the outside, and then now you're inside with them, seeing what they're actually seeing. I'm curious to see the feedback that comes from that because it is very different when you're right there with them and you're seeing what they're seeing. Like, I've always envisioned what it's like, but now seeing it firsthand and hearing everything and almost kind of feeling that sensation, I wonder if that might cause a little bit of negative backlash. Like, well, I didn't know the job was like this. I'm sure they do, but it's different seeing it, right, versus hearing about it.
Oh, honey, that's Hollywood. That Zach embellished it. It's all good.
Special effects.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
That building wasn't even on fire. What are you talking about? Nope. After Effects for the win.
AI is amazing.
God, don't say that. Oof, it is, though.
All right. In conclusion, if there's anybody watching this right now, other PIOs, department members that are interested in film, what advice would you give them if they're interested in doing any sort of thing like this for their department or their agency?
I gotta tell you that the biggest thing, the lesson I've learned in getting in public information is if you want to build trust in your own department as well as the community, you need to get out there. You cannot do this job behind a desk. I think that's the old way of doing things, and it has its place for sure. Many a times I'm writing a press release, but if you really want to build that trust, you got to get out there and show what your guys are doing. You got to actually be riding calls. You got to be responding. You got to be available. And that's why I always say like 60 to 70% of the time, I'm not in my office. I'm out there. And that's a big deal for my crews and the officers because like, oh man, like even within my first 2 weeks, they're like, man, this is not what we're used to. Like, this is very different, like how you're doing things. In 2 weeks, I made that kind of an impact. So imagine if you really take this as your motivation to kind of move in that direction and get out there. Even if like, okay, I'm not comfortable. Like, I'll tell you right now, I'm kind of getting jumbled with my words here. But my last department I was at, I had an iPhone. I had an iPhone 14 Pro. Like that's all I had. And I shot 2 series on an iPhone 14 Pro in cinematic mode. Like, you can make it happen. There's ways to do it. Work with what you got. I think people get so caught up in like, well, it won't look as good as that. Well, it doesn't have to look as good as that. You don't need to compete. Just show the great work that's being done at your agency. That speaks volumes for the community because they see that and they can resonate with that. I think video is the future. I think not being afraid to do certain types of short format content. I will say I'm not having my officers dance. It's just not a thing I have in my future. It's not something I'm going to do. It's not a trend I'm going to go for. I'm not saying I don't have officers being willing to do it, but there would be other officers that would be like, I cannot believe you're making us look like this on the internet, right? Like, so I am mindful of that. But I mean, just I think it helps if you enjoy what you do. But truly, like, take a class. Like, you can do it. Will it be at the level that we're doing, like Rolling Sixes? It may not be, right? I have 10 years of filmmaking experience. So It's a very big lead on some people. It doesn't mean you can't start, though. Start small, work big, like get up there. But I really think the biggest thing I said is just get out there in the field, do it. If you're interested in being a PIO, if you're in the film industry, God knows it's had its ups and downs lately, more downs than ups. This is a great time to have a steady pension and a retirement. Like, these are things that are not a thing in film, right? You just move movie to movie. So that's great. And it's a rewarding job. I don't have someone wake me up in midnight because they're having an epiphany moment because they've been drinking, and now suddenly this is what I need for my movie. Let's talk about it. If I'm getting woke up at midnight, it's for a damn good reason, and that makes it a lot more, I guess, fulfilling and rewarding for me, right? But I have had no more fulfilling job than being a PIO, especially here at Kalamazoo Public Safety.
That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, do y'all have anything, other remarks in closing you'd like to tell the people?
No, Zach did a great job. It's build that goodwill bank, right? That's the whole thing when I'm thinking about him. That PIO builds that goodwill bank. We're human as first responders. We make mistakes, and people see that, and we're under the microscope. By building that goodwill bank through your PIO and letting people know what you do and who you are and how you're serving them, helps overcome those times where we might mess up a little bit, or people bring us under scrutiny, or when you have millage coming up or anything like that. That's where this pays off. It pays off because people trust who's serving them, trust the service that's coming at them, and they're expecting that level of service that's provided to them. So I really appreciate everything Zach's done. I appreciate what you're doing with your podcast, because it's bringing that out there for more people, and it's helping bring the light to what we're doing, right? And helping put a face to what we're doing.
Yeah.
Not only that, your short form content, man, the amount of laughs that come out of Station 6, because they all watch you. I guarantee you, they are all big fans. But, like, it's so real, though. Like, we see it all the time. So it's like you're like that voice that we're like in our head, but it's like out there. So that's always great, because everyone needs a good laugh too, and to just feel seen. You know what I mean? I do need to apologize. Southernness comes out sometimes. I grew up in the South since I was 13. I know I said I'm from Kalamazoo, and people are like, dude, he's kind of got a little. So I'm just gonna put that out there so people know. But yeah, but nevertheless.
Well, thank you guys so much. By the time this episode's out, first episode of Rolling Sixes should already be out October 24th. Like you said, every 2 weeks. Is that what you said?
Every 2 weeks.
New episode. So stay tuned for that 6-part series. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. New episode, Just a Little Salt, every other week, every Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern. Thank you all so much for tuning in. See you next time.
With the undeniable rise of violence and assaults towards our healthcare staff and first responders, it's time to prevent, protect, and preserve those who take care of us. Make Stethosleeves the first choice in protecting our frontline workers.